Welcome to the City Current Radio Show. I'm your host, Jeremy Park. We're always honored to bring you inspiring stories of individuals and organizations making a difference, empowering the good in our community, and also, too, sharing a lot of helpful advice, talking about priorities in life. We're here with the author of Changer Sk11, A Young Athlete's Success, A Parent's Grief, talking about the book by Richard Kendrick. And Richard, how are you doing?
Doing well today. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So this is a difficult topic on your end in terms of losing your son, but it's one of those that you are using this as a light for others. So talk about on your end a little bit of the storyline, especially regarding Stevo. So give us a little bit of your backstory leading up to what led you to write this book.
Stevo was actually, I believe there's an old cliche that it takes a strong man to turn a child into a man. And I believe it's completely different. I believe it takes a child to turn a young boy into a man. And that's exactly what Stevo did for me. As a younger guy, I was just kind of wandering, lost. And when this new infant came into my life, it gave me a new sense of purpose and a new drive and really changed me and changed my whole direction in life. So I wanted to share how he changed me, but in a short period of time, he was able to touch so many lives. My father actually said it best in the book. I believe Stevo did more in 19 years than a lot of people do in 80.
Just reading the dedication on my end as a father, especially as a father of two boys, it brings you to tears because, to your point, you realize how much the child changes you, like you're talking about, but how much time it flies by. And so, to your point, talk about kind of Stevo in terms of just how you remember him outside of baseball, just how you remember him as your son.
The funny thing about Stevo was he was always guiding me. That was the one thing about my son, where I was trying to lead him and teach him things. And actually, I was learning from him the whole time. He was teaching me things in life that I really didn't even realize how I took things in perspective. He would always kind of tell me to pump the brakes, slow down a little bit, Dad. And it would always make me rethink how I'm adjusting to things in life and how I'm approaching others. And just, that was what he brought to me and how he changed me.
When you look at baseball, so competitive baseball is a big part of this storyline for your family and for Stevo. When you look at baseball, but also hunting and fishing, kind of give us an idea of his world in terms of all the different activities and things he enjoyed doing.
Yeah, I think the sports and the hunting and fishing all went hand in hand. You know, when he was little and I didn't allow him to go, it just drove him that much more. And it was just the sheer passion that he had for all these things and drives. He never had a neutral gear. It was wide open all the time, full speed, and everything he got and everything he done. But the best thing about it was he always wanted to share it, and he wanted to share it with everyone. One of the things that we realized later on was we looked at the diversity of the friends that he had. And it was, no racial status, and the age discrimination was not there or anything. There was just friends from way, way younger, like in his sister's age, all the way to kids that were 2 or 3 years older than him. He spread his knowledge and his friendship everywhere.
One of the things that's interesting too is when you talk about baseball and him hitting a home run, it didn't just lift him, it lifted his team, it lifted the audience, it lifted everyone. And so, to your point, there was a certain hope about him and magnetic charisma that just attracted people to him. Talk about his career in baseball. Give us a glimpse, because obviously it's competitive baseball, but he had college opportunities ahead of him.
Yes, and he was in his first year of college. He actually had 5 scholarship offers, and that's some of the details in the book, because we played from T-ball all the way through the college exposure years. So there's some rawness in there, and there's some truthfulness in there, and what parents will face when they're chasing these dreams and these hopes, and the projectables. What's really a college recruiter looking for, and what are you really sacrificing for? Stevo started out as a little bitty guy, very, very tiny. But, his dedication and hard work, and then he hit that growing spurt where we never thought he would have that kind of power. And around his sophomore year, he put on about 25 pounds of muscle and he got stout and thick, and then the ball just started flying off his back. Was always a contact hitter, but never with power. But then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, just this strength come and this power, and it just started driving the ball out of the park.
And so talk about some of the the things that led him in terms of stats, or what the things that you remember that led him to the college opportunity?
He led the state in home runs from the state of Tennessee his sophomore season, 2017. He had almost 20 home runs that season. He led the whole state. And by him doing that, he got to represent the state of Tennessee at the Power Showcase down in Miami. So we got to travel down and play in the Florida Marlins Stadium with all the top hitters in the country. And out of all the top 48 states and even the other countries that competed, China, Japan, that had players there, Steven finished in the top 15. And he hit one out there that was 458 feet. And it was just an amazing trip. And Blaze Jordan, who was another player that was there, that he actually played with Stevo and his brother some. He won the event and is in the MLBs now, or trying to get into the MLBs. He's in the minor leagues. But it was just a phenomenal event, and that really showcased him and put him out on the center stage.
Yeah. So then share kind of the pivotal moment of this with the accident, and unfortunately riding in a truck and had an accident. And so talk about kind of that devastating storyline that leads you then to writing this book.
I believe sometimes parents can be left in a false sense of security. I knew exactly what Stevo's schedule was that night. He actually stayed home the night before the accident because he knew he had baseball practice, and it was the last day of duck hunting season. So he wanted to get a duck hunt in before his practice that day. And so he stayed home with his girlfriend instead of going to a party, and they were supposed to get a tattoo and everything. But he stayed home. So by him staying home, I didn't really ask the normal questions that I think I normally would have asked. It just, that false sense of security. My boy's home. He's doing the right thing. He's getting rest. You know, I've taught him to duck hunt. I know where he's going. I know everything will be fine. And I heard the door open that morning, and I heard him leave out. And I never had a false flag. And then the call came in. And then the backstory now looking at it, I should have asked a few more questions. I should have known, maybe dove a little deeper, but just that false sense of security. Sometimes I think we get into a casual routine and we think everything's safe, and, you know, things change in a blink, in a split of an eye.
And so in this case, it's him riding with a friend who had stayed out later, and so was probably pretty tired, maybe an hour and a half sleep at most, and ends up swerving off the side of the road. And sadly, your son then is thrown out of the vehicle, and that's what leads to this tragedy. Is that fairly accurate? Is that correct? Yes, that's correct. Yeah, the two boys, my son was asleep in the passenger side, and the other gentleman, young man, he had been out pretty much partying all night. And you know, coming out though, my son did ask him, "Are you okay to drive?" But I think, you know, as a 19-year-old, you don't dig deep enough, and you're a little more naive too. You know, I'm sure the boys were fine while they were changing over all the equipment in the trucks, and, you know, they were excited about going. Everything was fine. But about 45, 50 minutes into that drive with them big tires humming and heated seats and early morning, you know, your buddy's asleep, and the other young man just drifted off, and they just drifted off the road. And the accident was 5 seconds, 5.34 seconds, and it's estimated about 3 seconds in, Stevo was gone. Wow. So that gives me a little bit of peace that it happened so instantly, that, you know, there wasn't a long drawn out type of situation, that it was pretty much like a light switch moment. I wake up in a bad dream and you're right back to sleep. That's the way I kind of face it, or I try to accept it that way. Yeah, I must say it's absolutely heartbreaking, especially as another father, to understand what you've gone through and what you continue to go through. So talk about the process of writing this book. Why did you decide to write the book? You know, it was funny that me and Steven, we had joked about writing a book, and I talked to him because of all these experiences we had, because I was the director for Rawlings and Worth for a while and coached the Memphis Tiger Youth Organization. And I had all this experience dealing with these parents and all these kids and all these trips around the country and everything. So we always wanted to put that together, kind of a little behind the scenes story of all the things that go on for parents. And then, but when this tragedy happened, honestly, it was a lot of therapy for myself. I mean, as a parent, we're always providing. We're always wanting to have the next best thing. So I was prepared to lose my son to life, off to college, off to live. I was not prepared to lose him for death. So what is the next step for me to do? I mean, to me, that's where I'm at now. I'm always trying to look for more things to do for them, to keep doing, because, you know, we're always doing, no matter how old they get,
that we're always going to try to provide for as parents. This was an opportunity for me just to put some of it down, share with others, put his story down. And if we can help one family spend a little more time together and learn how to schedule their time around, learn that ball time needs to be scheduled around family time, and family time shouldn't be scheduled around ball time. It should be direct opposite. And if I can help one other parent out there or someone that has lost someone, just seeing what some of the ways I'm dealing with it or trying to handle it, then, if I can touch one other person, then that'd be a blessing.
I truly appreciate what you're doing in the outlook. And I also appreciate the fact that now you're really coming out saying, hey, we've got to look at priorities, because look at how fast life can be taken from you at any moment, but look at how fast time flies by. And so enjoy every moment. And I know even in the book, you say that, a lot of the things that used to kind of, get you agitated, now you look back and think in the scheme of things, that was nothing. Like, what am I, all of this reprioritizing just time with your family. What's maybe one or two other takeaways that you want people to take away from this book?
Just, that tomorrow is not promised. This year, if you read the book, this year I saw death in a whole different meaning. It surrounded me in 2019. So many people from my inner circle, from starting with my son's friend that passed away in the ATV accident, to being at that funeral with my son, to 3 months later being at my son's, and then losing my boss. And it was just, we are not promised tomorrow. And there is one thing that I do want people to say, because everyone always says someday. Oh, we'll go on vacation someday. We're going to go here someday. Well, I've yet to find a calendar that has someday on it. So when you want to do something, or you want to put it on a calendar, make it happen. If they could just throw someday away, we would have so much more happy moments, and we would have those instead of trying to put them off, because we are not guaranteed that tomorrow we'll be able to make it happen.
What advice would you give to parents of the competitive ball players when you talk about being able to shift the focus and say family first, ball second? How do you shift that priority for those competitive parents?
I believe the bigger problem is with some of the younger competitive ball players, because people start out between that 6 and 10-year-old, and there's so many 9 and 10-year-old parents that think they have scholarship athletes, and they're traveling all the country, and they're burning all this money, and they're just chasing this dream. And these kids are 9 and 10 years old, which you can have that same type of fun, the same type of stuff at your regular local ballparks and everything, until the kid gets into the high school and into the college exposure stages. There's so many parents out there that are just spending. It's my last year I coached 414 ball games. So, and on an average, you're talking about a 10-year-old child playing anywhere in excess of 70 to 105 games a year. And it's a little much, until the college exposure years, that's when you really need to look into the camps and where you're going and who you're spending that time with. There's just, unfortunately, we live in a world which is a money grab, and there's a lot of sales pitch to it. And these great titles of where you're going and what you're doing, you come to find out that sometimes you get there and it was a lost cause. But those early years, yes, let these children have fun, be competitive, play in as many games as you can, but you don't have to travel the country at 9, 10, and 12 years old. There's the long-term effects for it. We have thousands of trophies between 6 and 12 years old, and numerous championships, national titles, and everything. And it granted us nothing at the end of the day. What granted us was when we finally did do some college exposure stuff, and it was really only about 2 or 3 events that really got the exposure and got it seen. When you played and spent all this money across the country, thousands and thousands of dollars. If I had it all back, we could have went to any Division I school we wanted to go to, and everything would have been paid for.
So what's one bit of advice when it comes to that college recruitment process that could be helpful?
You really need to go to some of the exposure camps where the schools put on the camps that are there. College baseball is a little different than football, because the college recruiters don't get to get out as much and travel the country as much as like what football is. And there's a big, also with colleges only have 11 scholarships to spread out over a 4-year period. It's not like a D1 football team gets 25 a year. So the baseball scholarships are fewer and far between. You just really got to, take your time and look at where you're going. and who you're putting yourself out in front of.
So a little bit of a twist, but what do you think Stevo's words of encouragement would be for all of us when you look at, what lies ahead in the future? Because I know he was obviously charismatic and uplifting and was always focused on others. What do you think his bit of advice would be for all of us to make the best of the situation and to go out and live our life to the fullest?
Well, we had a little saying, and we it's everywhere, even in with the book. And that was Stephen's little motto: is we live, we love, and we dream. So live life like today is the last day. Live to be happy. If you're going to love harder than you've ever loved before, and always pursue your dream. Just don't ever give up.
Nice. Wrap up with where we can buy the book. So once again, the book is Game Changer Sk11, A Young Athlete's Success, A Parent's Grief. Where do we get the book?
It's on Amazon right now. It's actually number one on the youth and children's list for sports books. And you can get it at Barnes & Noble, or you can go to sk11livelovedream.com and you can purchase a book there.
Well, Richard, once again, our heart goes out to you and your family for what you've gone through and continue to go through with the loss of your son, Stevo. But congratulations on the book. And definitely, like I said, I appreciate what you're doing and how you're using it as a light to help so many others. So thank you very much for coming on the show. Greatly appreciate it.
Thank you so much, and I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.